I'm Kim.
And I'm Anna.
And we are
Saucy Southwest,
where we discuss the histories,
mysteries,
murder,
and mayhem
of the American Southwest.
And we drink.
We drink local or regional, I guess would be a better term.
Yeah.
Alcohol. And usually it's beer or cider or wine. We've had an occasional hard
alcohol.
Yeah. Today we are drinking Tin Cup American whiskey. Straight, right?
Straight, yeah. Oh yeah. I like my whiskey neat.
I usually like to mix my whiskey with something, but I have a little baby shot. Baby shot.
Ding.
Just because I want to experience. I've had this before, in all honesty. It is distilled in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
It's your mom gave your dad for his 70th birthday a big bottle of Tin Cup.
Or was it a different one?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Tin Cup.
It was a Tin Cup? Okay.
Yeah, which I thought was a very sweet gesture.
We give alcohol in this family as gifts.
Oh, I know.
Because...
But at that point, your parents had been divorced for like 20 some odd years.
True.
So.
True.
But I thought it was sweet. Anyhow, so I've enjoyed Tin Cup before. Your dad really likes it.
Tin Cup is... Y'all have probably heard at this point, I prefer Scotch whiskey, but there are some American whiskeys that I do really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Tin Cup is one of them. Tin Cup is honestly my preferred in this amazing chocolate caramel whiskey cupcake that I make.
I don't like chocolate cake, and I like that.
It's a whiskey forward chocolate cake, and whiskey and chocolate, they have this beautiful combination.
It's like I always put coffee in my chocolate cake.
Exactly.
And people are like, my mom, who hated coffee, really loved my chocolate cake. And I didn't change the recipe at all.
No.
I'm like, no, Mom, I didn't put coffee. And she's like, oh, it's so good. I'm like, so I'm gonna have a little bit of this, and I'll probably give you the rest of the shot because of my wine.
Yeah. Well, no, and I mean, you've never had this straight. I have. And one of the reasons that I wanted to use Tin Cup is because not only is it originally distilled in the mountains of Colorado, it comes with a little cup.
You might not get it.
I know, it's good.
It is good.
It is really good. I'm not a huge... The reason I don't like American whiskeys is they tend to be too sweet for me.
Mm-hmm.
This, I think, has a very good ratio of sweet to, like, that good whiskey.
Right. And I am a Jack Daniels or Evan Williams. I like American bourbons a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And and I will get a Jack or an Evan on the rocks if I'm out.
Yeah.
Especially if I feel like I'm with some guys who think women can't drink and hold their whiskey.
Yeah, so I prefer my whiskeys neat, not because I'm trying to be a badass, but because I think they taste better. I don't like them on the rocks.
And I'll get it on the rocks.
See, I don't like that because I don't like
that
I don't like that it watered down. I don't like the cold shocks the whiskey, and I don't like how it seizes the flavor. Everyone who is listening to this right now is, what the fuck is she talking about? And it's like, just go talk to someone who distills whiskey, preferably someone from Scotland. But you will get a whole education on it. But no, why I like this is it comes with a little tin cup based on the cup that miners used.
Oh.
When they, like a tin cup that a miner would travel with to drink from in the Rocky Mountains.
There you go.
And today we are talking about Horace Tabor, the Silver King.
I have to tell you what the song that's going through my head with Tin Cup.
Yes.
Is Love Shack by the B-52s. Because there's a line, and I'm aging myself. This was popular when I was in high school and in college, and we sang it when I was part of the USO kind of show.
Oh, no, I mean, it's a fun song. I like it.
But there's a line in there that's tin roof rusted. And
yes.
I'm like, okay, it's Tin Cup, but it's still tin. And I gave you an earworm.
You did.
But
wait until I back.
But so at work on Thursdays, we do a Throwback Thursday, and it's usually a song or some historical thing or whatnot. This past Thursday, there wasn't a lot. There was like the history geek in me was like geeking out on it, but I have a team of about 25 people, and something that could be relatable to everyone, yeah, or maybe not something so obscure that nobody's heard of it, right?
Right.
So this past Thursday, which was August 19th, in 1979, My Sharona by the Knacks came out.
Oh my God.
And so I put that out, and then I did a link to the, on our group chat thing that we have. And I put that out to the team with the link to the YouTube of the original music video. And this guy that I work with, who I've never actually met him because he started a week after I did, and then the world closed down, so we've not actually ever
met in person.
But I think I would like him a lot. He's military brat, and grew up in California. So, but he all day on Thursday would put out thump My Sharona just in the group chat, and he's like, "You are evil, Kim, and I will pay you back." And I'm like, and our manager sent out something. Hey, don't forget to put your time in for this week. It's due on Thursdays.
Right.
And he put in the thump My Sharona. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, are you going to put in Sharona's side? And he's, you are so evil. You are. And he's like, I am plotting your demise. So
you've got a few people that could, randomly reach out to each other and join forces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You two shall never meet. Anyhow. So the tin cup was good, but and now I'm drinking wine.
And now you're drinking wine, and I am going to need to get something because I polished off. I'm not gonna lie, I brought over the very last, maybe shot of whiskey in the bottle, and we split it.
You want me to get you that other seltzer? Or you want a glass of wine?
Please and thank you.
White or red?
I like my red wine. So after the last episode that I researched on Baby Doe Tabor, I realized how much information there was about Horace Tabor, and I think actually he's pretty cool in having done the research for Baby Doe. And one of the articles I stumbled on was about the Tabor Triangle, which is Baby Doe, Horace, and Augusta being Horace's first wife.
The one that he wasn't officially divorced from?
Yeah, the one he wasn't officially divorced from when he married Baby Doe the first time. And in looking at this, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do a thing on Horace, and then I'm gonna do a thing on Augusta, and after the three of them, if there's any loose ends, then I'll do a kind of culmination legacy out.
That's cool.
So those will be, kind of spaced out.
Horace was interesting, even though he has the worst name known to mankind.
Yes, but it gets better.
Okay.
It gets better. Horace Austin Warner Tabor, born...
So he was hot.
No, he was Haw. That was what people called him. H-A-W. Haw. And that is the only time in my life I have heard Haw as someone's name and been like, that's an improvement.
It is.
Right? They called him Haw, not Horace. However, I will be calling him Horace because I don't think I can say Haw that much. And, right. And not just bust out laughing because of it. So, Mr. Horace Tabor was born April 6, 1830 in Holland, Vermont. So, yeah, he starts way back out east.
Cool. Well, a lot of the pioneers or colonizers, however you want to look at them.
Yeah, no, they all
started back east.
A lot of the people that we're going to be talking about that are of European descent.
Yes.
Started life either in Europe or back east.
Right.
Some more in the Midwest, but pretty much all back east. My references this week are, again, historycolorado.org, legendsofamerica.com, coloradoencyclopedia.org, coloradovirtuallibrary.org, leadville.com, babydoe.org, and Wikipedia. Wikipedia is the one that gave me his full name. All I kept seeing was Horace A.W. Tabor. And I'm like, what the F does the A.W. mean? And then I stumbled upon...
It means root beer, honey.
Or, in this case, Austin Warner. Right. So I was trying to figure that out, and it was Wikipedia that finally gave me that last little bit of information. And now I know why he went by Haw.
Oh. This is my Pa Haw?
Right, yeah. But, it does, none of his names roll off the top. I mean, I guess maybe Austin. Maybe he could have gone by Austin Tabor. I think that would have been an improvement.
But in Vermont,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So in 1854...
Okay, so when he was like 24 years?
Is when Baby Doe was...
Oh, so they have the same age difference as your father and I.
Yes. I wanted to point that out. No, so at age 19, Horace leaves the family in Vermont, moves to Augusta, Maine.
Oh, I love Augusta.
Maine.
It's so pretty. They've got really good food, too, and awesome beers. They have a blueberry beer, which I know sounds gross, but is super good. It's like got the brightness of the blueberry, but it's mellowed by the, anyhow.
By the beer? Well, we might have to, maybe that's what our next podcast should be. A drinking tour of the United States.
There we go.
Throwing in some facts and history and us just being crass assholes.
Oh, us? Crass?
I know, right?
And assholes?
I know. I have no idea of what I speak. But yeah, so he, at the age of 19, moves to Augusta, Maine to become a stoneworker. He goes to work for a quarry that is owned by his future father-in-law. Oh. So yes, Augusta Pierce, his future wife, was in Augusta, Maine.
Well, there you go. I have a friend. Well, she's not really a friend. I had a friend who, her name was Athena, her sister's was Paris, and her other sister's name was Brooklyn. They were all named for where they were conceived.
I mean, that... Well, and I mean, Augusta had a lot of brothers and sisters. Okay. Like, we'll get more into
Augusta when we talk about
her the next time that I do research for an episode. And that's why I'm really trying to focus on Horace a lot. On Hall. A lot on this one. Like, last one I focused a lot on Baby Doe.
Right.
There's going to be, obviously, between the two of them, some crossover. Horace and Augusta. And so that's where I think some of those loose ends will get tied up if I do a final... We'll see what happens.
I did like 7 billion episodes on camels.
True.
So you can do 3 or 4 on the Tabor.
So I can do, 3 or 4 on the Tabor Triangle.
Yeah.
No, and it's one of the articles I found, and I have to see if I can find it again really quickly. It's hilarious. So it's from legendsofamerica.com, the article about them, and it is the Tabor Triangle. Rags, riches, and scandal.
Ooh. I love scandal.
I know, I felt like I could not steal the exact title from Legends of America. So go read the article. It's fascinating, and it really gets into a certain amount of depth with each of the 3 of the main characters and kind of all of the socio-political, moral things happening in the late 1800s. It's a very interesting article. Obviously, I will not be able to go into that much depth about each of them without it being like 20 episodes. Seriously,
and we learned from Camel Corps.
We don't want that many.
See, we are capable of learning stuff.
We are capable of learning. We have learned the things.
All of the things.
We have learned all of the things. So, but I do have to read the brief summation that they always have at the top of the wiki page.
Right.
Horace Austin Warner Hall Tabor, also known as the Bonanza King of Leadville, was an American prospector, businessman, and Republican politician. His life is the subject of Douglas Moore's opera, The Ballad of Baby Doe, which I mentioned in the last episode, and the 1932 Hollywood biographical movie, Silver Dollar. Also, Graham Masterson's 1987 novel, Silver, has a protagonist named Henry T. Roberts, whose life includes incidents from Tabor's.
Cool.
So we're talking about people that their lives went on.
Well, there's the Tabor Center in Denver.
Right, no, and that's it. I doubt that the Tabor Center is specific to Horace did. He will know why I say this.
But it might be Augusta, because she was very big into the arts, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm assuming it is Augusta.
That.
Yeah, and again, at this point, I'm assuming it was Augusta because it was not mentioned for Horace. That said, he did that kind of thing, so maybe. But I'm not seeing about, or it could be, Augusta. It could be
Baby Doe. It could be their kids
from their children, whatever. Although spoiler alert, we learned from the Baby Doe story that Horace also died destitute.
Yeah.
So I don't think their children went on to be able to fund the
Tabor
Center.
Did Horace have kids with Augusta? Am I getting ahead of ourselves?
We're getting a little ahead, but yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. And that's where I think a 4th episode to kind of talk a little bit about the 3 children,
Okay.
and all of that might be good. A good thing to do, to tie up a few loose ends with a nice little pretty bow. But we'll see. Y'all, I chase glitter. I am one of the most easily distracted people on the planet. I either hyper-focus or I am, like, oblivious to everything. It is an either-or game. If you haven't picked that up in the 20-some episodes up to this point.
Are we really up to 20-some odd episodes?
Yeah, I think I just uploaded, though it is not out yet, our 20...
Wow.
Right? We're 3/4 of the way to the 100 we said we were definitely going to do.
Yeah. We have more than 24 listeners. Okay.
But we're up to, like, almost 500 downloads.
Okay, cool.
So, thank y'all. We appreciate you.
We really do. So, anyhow, Horace, Augusta.
So, Horace, Augusta, everything. So, Horace starts courting Augusta while he is living in Maine. She is one of a lot of children, and she is...
Like more than 10? Less than 10?
I want to say it was more than, but again, I wasn't focusing too much on her, life because that's...
I'm sorry.
Horace is one of 5 children.
They had big families back then.
They did. And that's it. I mean, Baby Doe's family, there were a lot of children. I think there were 14 children in her family. In Horace's, there were 5. In Augusta's, I want to say it's in the teens. Again, I don't fully remember because I wasn't focusing on that when I was doing my research. So in 1855, Horace moved to Kansas.
Okay.
Historically speaking, what was happening in Kansas
Bloody
at that
Kansas.
time? Exactly. Horace was a part of a group of settlers that moved from the east to Kansas to be anti-slavery.
There you go. Remember when the Republicans were anti-slavery?
Oh, you mean what? Back before the 60s and everyone flipped sides?
Yes.
You mean that whole thing?
Yeah.
So when everyone says, well, Lincoln was a Republican, yeah, but not that kind of Republican.
Yeah.
Just an FYI. I mean, also he was hardcore. It was... Family history says that on my mother's side we are related to him, and it was a deep personal, like, blow to find out that he was a racist asshole. He wanted to do his version of sending all of the black people to, or wherever,
Liberia.
to somewhere in the way that initially Hitler wanted to send all of the Jews to Madagascar. Like, it was that level of ickiness. He just didn't follow through on the extermination of the people.
Yeah. Anyhow, so carry on.
So,
Kansas.
Horace was an abolitionist, a very staunch abolitionist. So again, this is where I'm like, oh my gosh, I like this guy.
Yeah.
And he was part of this group. He became a leader in that group in Kansas. There's actually still the Tabor Valley in that part of Kansas, in that part of southeastern Kansas.
Kansas has a valley?
I know. It's not as flat as a pancake, y'all. I promise you.
No, scientifically they proved that it was flatter than a pancake.
Well, yeah, but that's because a pancake has a little bubble divots. So it's like a dome, but it's got a little bubble divots. Basically, every place that's not mountains is flatter than a pancake.
Yes, but they only really studied them.
I know. But there is topographical changes within the state of Kansas. There are hills and shit, I promise.
Squishy.
Y'all, she's drunk.
I'm not drunk.
She is playing with our little foam surrounds that we have for the mics that we peer over at to see each other.
But it's squishy.
Yes, it is. It's foam. Foam is squishy.
Styrofoam's not.
True.
I'm just gonna drink my wine and let you tell me a story.
Okay, so
I love making you laugh to the point where you cannot talk.
I know, like I can't talk. You even to collect myself. So in 1855, he moves to Kansas to be a part of this anti-slavery movement because, as I think we've mentioned before, Kansas was the first state to vote whether or not they were going to allow slavery or not. And so you get a lot of people from Missouri coming into Kansas to try and force Kansas to be pro-slavery. You have a lot of people in Kansas that are like, fuck y'all real hard. You don't tell us what to do.
Right.
I mean, it is a national pastime to be like, oh, hold my beer when people tell us what to do. Like, it is a very firmly American thing. Across all
political
states.
spectrum.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the pro-slavery people were so short-sighted, but also they were really short-sighted. And then you get a bunch of people from the East that are abolitionists that have means or are funded to come out to Kansas, get land, and homestead.
Okay.
So a couple of years later, in 1857, Horace returns to Maine, marries Augusta, and moves with Augusta to the homestead in Kansas.
Okay.
Now, they try for a few years to have a successful farm. It's not all that great. During this time, he's hearing about all of the rumblings of the gold rush. Now, while there was the gold rush in California, there was a separate gold rush in Colorado.
Correct.
And it's at the same time as the silver rush in Colorado. The Rocky Mountains are full of a lot of mineral deposits, copper, gold, silver. The copper, as we mentioned in the last episode for the Copper Barons, was more north. Silver and gold, but primarily silver, were in the Colorado portion.
Okay.
They move to Colorado. Well, what was at that point still Kansas.
Okay, yeah, because of...
So back in the way back machine, Kansas went to the Rocky Mountains. So Denver was in the territory of Kansas. Now, when Kansas becomes a state, what is considered the Front Range or the Plains portion of Kansas is then part of Colorado. So he tries to prospect outside of the Denver area, doesn't really get a lot of success. At this point, Augusta has given birth to their only child, a son named Maxey.
What a great name.
I know, I like that name. Maxcey. Maxey. So they moved, up and left the farm, still on the property, but up and left the farm, and are trying out something new.
Did they, rent it out to sharecroppers, or do you know?
It didn't
Okay.
say. I'll see if I can find it when I do more on the Augusta version, because none of Horace's got into detail of what they did with the farm. And, we may never know. But his prospecting outside the Denver area didn't work. So they went to a place called California Gulch. Now, California Gulch is in Colorado outside of Leadville.
Right.
They go with wagons of supplies. Now, during this time, Horace is what at the time is considered panhandling or sloshing. It's where you take a pan in the river and try and get gold.
Okay.
So he's doing that, and Augusta is running what essentially becomes a general store.
Okay.
Because they brought gold weights, and not everybody had gold weights, so she was measuring out everyone else's. She became postmistress, laundress, all sorts of odd jobs. So essentially, she was supporting the family while
he was laundress, where she actually
I don't think
laundry.
The small gleaning of things I have on her, I don't think she.
Okay, because laundress was a
euphemism. Yeah, no,
I think lady of the night or a sex worker.
Yes,
yeah.
No, I think she legitimately, because she also was camp cook.
Okay, so she just did.
Because she was the only woman in the valley.
Holy crap!
She was the first woman in the valley.
Okay.
And
first
initially the
European.
only. We're talking about a whole bunch of miners, so I'm going to say in the mining camp.
Okay, cool.
In the mining camp in the valley, she was the first woman there with boots on ground. And so she had to do what she had to do to survive, but also she was married to Horace. Tabor. And so they then start this life of... So something you have to understand about mining camp is there was a big boom and bust.
Right.
You would go because there was a promise of minerals, and some people might make it, but not all mineral deposits are good mineral deposits.
Right.
And so they could empty very quickly, or they were just too difficult to get.
Right.
And so there was
kind of like oil towns now.
Exactly. A lot like oil towns now, where there's a big boom and bust. And so, and there's, the Rocky Mountains are littered with what is essentially considered ghost towns from this boom and bust of the mining industry during this time. So they're following these different towns and essentially doing the same thing, where he's mining, but also they're jointly operating what is essentially a general store, or they're providing provision.
Right.
Throughout this.
I'm sorry, do you hear Frankie snoring? He's covered up with this blanket.
And
might be...
he's snoring.
So if you hear that coming across my mind, It is not me. I am actually paying attention. My dear daughter here, it is the dog at my feet. So,
y'all, he's old. He's my old man, and yeah, he snores regularly. And obviously, the last couple of episodes, if you heard that, it's because he was in my lap snoring.
Yeah, he's at my feet, covered up with a blanket, snoring.
He's a happy little man right now. So they, in 1876, they moved back to what at that time was named Oro City.
Never heard of Oro City.
It is not in existence anymore, but
a lot of those little towns.
It was back in the California Gulch. So essentially where they went initially when they went up into the mountains.
Okay.
It became Oro City. There's Oro City 1, Oro City 2, like so many different cities. Idaho Springs had a different name at that time, but it was one of the boom and bust.
Kind of like pine, conifer, spruce. Like
yeah. Also Oro, Gold City.
Gold, that makes sense.
So, and at the time, I mean, it is what it is. So they go back to Oro City in the California Gulch and reopen their general store.
Okay.
Horace is the postmaster of Oro City, and that's a position that he has held many times over and over. He becomes known for his generosity, just being a very personable person. Everybody loved him, and he and his wife, Augusta, were very well trusted, which, I mean, is kind of important if you're going to be doing the general store thing.
Right.
And the postmaster thing, you need to be well-liked and well-trusted. If you're not, like, problems happen.
Honey, I don't even know. Like, our post, I was just thinking about this. Our mail delivery person changes on, like, the weekly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea who they are.
Oh, no, I remember growing up in Denver, like, I knew who our post person was, and it was the same person unless they were on vacation. Now I'm like,
Oh.
I know, it's a little sad. But yeah, so at this time, because of Augusta's fiscally conservative nature,
Okay.
they have about 40,000 in savings. So
in that
period of time,
in that time's money,
right? In not in today's money.
Okay.
At that time's money. So if we think 117 is 3 million, so they're not wealthy, but they're definitely upper middle class,
right?
Very comfortable, doing quite well for themselves. So there's something called grub staking.
That sounds disgusting because when I think of, because I'm a gardener.
Yeah, you think of grubs.
I think of the little gross, little
grubby, funky, gross
insect thingies that I have to pluck off of my squash and cucumber leaf. By the way, if you're in the Santa Fe area, finding yourself in need of squash or cucumbers, I have a this year.
Oh my god, seriously? She just cut one open for our supper tonight that is, I shit you not, the size of my calf.
It's the size of my thigh.
Like,
and I have a sizable thigh.
Yeah, okay, my calves aren't that big, but like lengthwise, the size of my calf. Lengthwise, it is the size of my calf.
Anyhow, sorry. But if you're in the Santa Fe area, hit me up.
Yeah, like if you need food, we've got it.
Because there is a zucchini that is about the size of a baseball bat that I just cannot get to pick.
Yeah,
it's my garden. So.
It's insane.
Anyhow.
But so grub staking has nothing to do with grubs, the little creepy crawlies. I know, they're gross.
Yuck! I feel like I need a shower now.
Just think about Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh, that's no.
It makes it worse.
Yeah,
it makes it worse. I'm sorry. No, so grub staking is where a general store owner would provide provisions and supplies to prospectors for a stake in their mine.
Oh, so they would provide grub or food,
right?
Like grub
for a steak. Grub steak. Yes,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, we are not humans in general tend to not be creative with the naming of the things.
That is the truth.
Mm-hmm. So in 1877, Horace grub stakes 2 German miners.
Okay.
These miners ended up striking it. Silver.
Wow.
Horace's stake was worth eventually millions at that time.
Millions in the 1800s.
Millions in the late 1800s. One of the miners.
How are you?
Right.
How you doing?
After a few years, one of the initial miners sold his stake to the other miner and Horace for $98,000.
In
one stake for $98,000. So that's a couple million in today's money.
Yeah.
So after that, they became incredibly wealthy. Horace then starts investing in more mining, buying up stakes in different mines or buying mines and then getting investors later. He also starts living it up. He was a generous guy.
Right.
And in here in 1879 for $117,000, which is why I had the 117,000 in our last episode. So let me remind you all, $117,000 is, I'm sorry, y'all.
She was being so cute and gawky with that.
I'm sorry. Anyway, $117,000 is worth over $3 million in today's money. Yes. In fact, I'll look it up and get the. So actually, so my number was originally calculated for 1876, which is when they moved back, not for 1879, which is when he purchased it. So in 1879, it was $3.3 million in today's money.
Yowzers. Okay.
And he just had that lying around, able to invest in a mine. Now, the matchless mine, if you remember from Baby Doe, that is why it is important. That's why I call it out.
I'm sorry, I have to point this out. There is a relatively attractive man, tall, walking a teeny tiny chihuahua on a hot pink leash outside our window.
Okay.
It just struck me as, tall, broad-shouldered, good build, relatively attractive, like in a Luke Bryan kind of way. And I know that means nothing to you. Walking a teeny tiny chihuahua on a hot pink leash.
Option 1, he is gay. Option 2, he loves his wife and/or very much. Option 3, he's just very comfortable with his masculinity, and he's telling the patriarchy to fuck off.
Which is why I appreciate all of those. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm sorry. I just paused. I might be getting a little tipsy.
She might be a little tipsy, and I might not be the only one in the family who follows fucking glitter.
No one has ever accused you of that.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, I'm not the only one. We know I am not the only one. Okay, so, at its height, the Matchless Mine was producing over $2,000 worth of ore
a day?
A day. Now, just to bring that into a more modern understanding, that is earning over $56,000 a day. So, Horace Tabor wasn't just wealthy, he was stupid, fucking nesting yacht doll wealthy.
So like Bezos of mine.
Yes.
Yeah. You're the Gates.
Exactly. But a lot of these, and that's why they're called either the robber barons for the railroad or the silver barons, the copper barons, the gold barons. Like there's a reason that they have that name, and it's because they're that fucking insanely wealthy. This is massive amounts of money.
Like more money than they would know what to do with.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is surprising when everything comes crashing down. Like, why didn't you save it in other ways?
Why didn't you do a different thing? Why didn't you diversify?
Oh, diversity is a...
No, but there's a reason that if you get investment advice today...
Oh, wait, hot guy's back and he's got to go.
Can't see. I don't know. But, I mean, there's a reason that if you're investing today in the market that a good and responsible financial advisor will tell you to diversify. Mm-hmm. And it's because if silver...
So many people didn't.
And if one thing is doing good, another thing is doing bad. So if you diversify, you won't lose it all.
Okay.
That's the whole point. Anyway, during this time, they moved to Leadville.
I like Leadville. It's so cute.
No, I love Leadville. It's a great city.
It's a town. It's a town. It's not really a city.
It's a town in the mountains.
It's bigger than a hamlet, but smaller than a town. It's not quite a village.
No, it's quasi-town size. Anyway,
it's a great
during
bar
this
there.
time,
we had really good items.
Yeah. No, there's some good restaurants there. It's a fun little place. Like I encourage everyone to go and visit Leadville and Idaho Springs. Idaho Springs named Springs now because there's actually a really nice hot springs like in the cave in the mountain, and there's some epic breweries and the best pizza place you will ever find. So much good food there. I digress.
But we can have food.
We are.
And
we are
there's
hungry.
something in the oven that's smelling really good.
But during this time in Leadville, Horace and his very generous nature starts annoying Augusta. Augusta is more of a saver. Horace is more of a spender. And now they have so much money that her saying, but honey, we need to save. And he's like, babe, the mine's making $56,000 a day. Like,
and I can see, okay, it's kind of like your father and we have this pretty green stuff. Let's give people who need it.
Exactly. Yes.
And your dad is like,
how about we not? Rainy day fund.
Yeah,
rainy day fund.
Yes. And your dad's very generous and kind and giving and supportive. But it's like, okay, we can't do this all the time. Give away all this money and
we need things in case things happen.
Yeah, exactly.
We need a rainy day fund.
Things happened, and we were able to sustain ourselves because your dad.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there have been.
I mean, we're not making $6,000 a day
from one of the mines. That is one of many stakes in mines.
Yeah.
He bought Matchless Mine on his own, but eventually got a partner in the mine. Right. But still, that mine at its height, which was one of the most prosperous in the silver boom, but that one mine was making that much a day, and he had stakes in many other mines. So
why didn't he save some of it?
We'll get there. First, I mean, a lot of it was he was getting money from them. Part of it is that he enjoyed spending his money. At this point, in Leadville, he started 2 different papers. He opened the first bank, and he founded the Leadville Opera.
Oh, I love the Leadville Opera.
Right? I mean, there's a lot.
I mean, the opera house is really cute.
The house that he and Augusta lived in is still there, and is a museum. Obviously, the opera is still standing. I mean, they did a lot to fund the culture in Leadville, which at the time was a rather large kind of metropolis type area because of the mining industry.
Right.
Now you get to 93 and 1893. You get to that point, and it is this big economic catastrophe, and a lot of mining towns like Leadville kind of came to a screeching halt.
Right.
So at this time, Horace is about 50, incredibly wealthy, not having to work super hard. He wants to go and live it up.
Right.
His wife, Augusta, does not want to live that life.
Right.
She's from this upper middle class family. I mean, she grew up the child of a quarry owner. So, she's not destitute at any point in her life. But she definitely has that more, I would say, Northeastern Puritan vibe as far as not flaunting wealth.
I love New England. I do. I love New England.
Right. But I tell you that and you know exactly what I'm talking about because it is very...
This definite... Yeah. I mean, you might have a bigger house.
Mm-hmm. But you don't have all the flashy stuff. You don't have the cars. You don't have the...
True New Englanders.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like people out here who have true wealth.
Yeah.
Will be driving their 25-year-old truck around.
Exactly.
I mean, and live in a multi-million-dollar mansion. But their truck is working just fine, so why should I replace it?
Yeah, no, exactly. There's something about
New England.
New England wealthy and out west wealthy that tends to, maybe have big house, maybe have some luxury goods, some luxury items, always have a copious amount of food on the table, have a lot of workers, but also
we're not going to flash it. I'm not going to show off.
Right. You're not going to be, going to the grocery store dripping in diamonds, a la Horace Tabor.
Right. Correct.
So,
I like wines.
Wine is tasty. We love wine.
You gotta fly in yours. You gotta...
It was on the side, not in the wine.
Franklin has gotten up and is now walking around the kitchen in the blanket.
He is wearing the blanket like a very large, flowy shawl. So, all of these issues kind of, because Horace and Augusta have had a lot of differences over these, and are just very different people fundamentally.
Okay.
So having this wealth kind of brought all of their differences to a head. So they ultimately get divorced. They ultimately end up living two separate lives. Augusta is living in this mansion that Horace built in Denver. Horace is up in Leadville, living it up. You know, Augusta is kind of embarrassing
Getting it
him.
on with Baby Doe.
Happens a little bit later, but yes.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Horace
Let's
is...
get it on. Let me give you another year.
During this time, first in Leadville, Horace becomes the first mayor of Leadville.
Oh, okay, cool.
So again, he's very well liked. He's very boisterous. He's very generous. Augusta is very...
puritanical New England.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much so. And so, you know, Horace, after his term as governor, moves the family
to
mayor. As mayor, sorry. I'll get there. Moves the family to Denver. He becomes
slightly intoxicated.
He becomes the second lieutenant governor for the state of Colorado. He is the second lieutenant governor for the state of Colorado. He is a silver baron.
For the state, not the territory.
For the state, not the territory.
Cool.
He is, you know, very much living into the persona that he's supposed to be. Meanwhile, his wife at home is very puritanical, very much not flaunting the wealth, not living into the position that they have. And she is very much a saver.
I have no idea what that is like.
I see the thing, I spend the thing. That is why I have many accounts at different things.
There you go. Continue on.
So in 1883, because of all of these different differences that have compounded over time, the divorce is finalized. Now, rewind. 1880 is when he meets Baby Doe.
Okay, so
1882 is when he secretly marries Baby Doe in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Because Horace, in his position, has been asked to serve as senator temporarily.
Right.
Now we know from the Baby Doe story, he and Baby Doe truly love each other. By all accounts, they had a very loving relationship. Mm-hmm. He doted on her. They had two daughters. They both doted on the children. And she, you know, Baby Doe stayed with him through the travesty of this economic downturn where he goes back to being a postmaster, still making a living. And that's what I don't like. They say that he died in destitution. He was a postmaster general. That's not, like, it's not the lavishness, but it is it's
a job.
It is better than some places that he had been in the early days of his with Augusta, or when he was a 19-year-old stoneworker.
Right.
So, yes, it was a big rise and a big fall, but he still fell to what is more of a middle-class position.
Like, I can't afford to build an opera in my name, but I can still afford to occasionally go to the opera.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, he can afford to support his wife and children, just not in the excess that they had been used to.
Right.
You know, and it's when he dies in 1899 because it is not this lavish life and not this huge paycheck that then what happened to a lot of middle-class women when their spouse died, you know, is that they then become destitute if they cannot find or do not want to find another provider.
Right.
You know, Baby Doe, from what I've seen, didn't want to go and find someone to take care of her. You know, she had family that was sending her money. You know, she had brothers and sisters that were trying to take care of her.
Right.
You know, because of the girls. And she had her, you know, kind of re-devotion to Christianity during this time. But, you know, he did some amazing things. He was the number 2 lieutenant governor in the state of Colorado. And then he served as a senator. And I truly believe that if it hadn't been for the scandal of his relationship with Baby Doe, not only because, you know, Augusta, who didn't flaunt her wealth, but did have good standing in society in Colorado at that time, kind of being not happy about Horace's relationship and the divorce, because if you are a more of puritanical person, divorce is like the slight. But if it hadn't been for that, I do think he would have been a governor. Okay. I do think that if it hadn't been for the scandal of Baby Doe, he would have been able to turn some things around and it would have changed the trajectory of their lives. But the scandal happened, and so
Love won.
And that's it. It is reported that he and Baby Joe truly loved each other, which it sounds like he and Augusta.
They had and I think a lot of the marriages that happened were more a companionship, and women needed to survive.
Exactly.
And so we will figure out how to make this work. And, it's like, I look at having been married for as long as I have now. I'd much rather have a love match because we can work through whatever weirdness life throws at us, because we know we have this solid rock, this foundation. But I think back to, I watch a lot of period pieces and whatnot. Women who had to get married and had to stay married, people that maybe they were infatuated with at the beginning.
But they didn't truly love each other. They didn't have the foundation of commonality in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened with, I think, Augusta and Horace. There may have been that initial infatuation. She's a few years younger than him. He was a young, strapping 19-year-old. He went out on this grand adventure, but she was not the adventure.
Right.
And
there's no harm or foul in that.
No, and that's it.
Oh my God! If I had married the first person I thought I was in love with,
oh God, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, but that's it. Like,
I hope he's well, and I hope he's doing well. And
right. No harm, no foul. But also.
But yeah, I'm thinking if I had married the guy.
Right. Well, no, but that's it. Like, I am an adventure person. You know this.
Yeah.
I am someone to go out and do the crazy things. My best friend is also an adrenaline key. We go out and do crazy things when we are able to. We love doing it. It gives us life. But we know people and are related to people who are not adventure people.
Hello, hi, hand up in the air.
Right. Who get very, very concerned when we're going and doing these things, and we have to be like, okay, but we're not just going off and doing the random shit. We're making sure that these are the safety procedures that are in play.
And this is the the trailhead, and
exactly.
We're expected that this is going to be
X amount of
5
time.
hours. If we're not back in 7.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, we're going on this trip.
That has never happened at all.
Right? Both of my moms are like this. To their endless dismay, and mine, to be perfectly honest. But they hold me accountable.
Well, we just want to make for sure.
And make sure
it's a 3-hour trip.
Exactly.
And we haven't heard from you in 6 hours. Like that time when you were getting the Christmas tree.
Yes, exactly.
When do we need to alert the park rangers?
Exactly. So, it's good to have non-adventurous people in your life. But also, if you are an adventurous person and you are marrying a non-adventurous person, it sneaks so good.
Problems. Like, your dad loves being out in the outdoors.
Luckily, he has me.
My idea of camping is as a Holiday Inn.
Right, no,
Not that there's anything wrong with the Holiday Inn.
No.
But I can't get room service. So.
Exactly. No, well, and that's it. Like, my former spouse didn't want to travel internationally, wasn't a huge fan of traveling domestically. I crave travel. I crave trying new things.
Your dad and I have that, and we just agree on...
Right, like...
It's going to be hotels, not...
Exactly. Dad knows that if he wants to go hiking or camping, his child is always up for it.
His wife, not so much.
But you both love new experiences. You love trying new things. And that's the same with my mom.
Right.
Loves trying new food, loves travel, loves experiencing life in different ways.
Right.
Just not to the extremes that I and some of my friends do.
Hobby.
Exactly.
But
so, when you have a relationship that one person is very much a flamboyant, outgoing adventurer, and the other person is more New England puritanical, maybe it shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Right.
And with that, we will talk to you mañana.